What's up, it's your boy Reemus, and in this video we're gonna go conspiracy mode a little bit because I've been reading this book called COVID-19, What You Need to Know About the Coronavirus and the Race for the Vaccine. But in particular, the topic of today's video, we're gonna be debating, how much did the authorities know, how much was it known about the virus before it was released, and what does that tell you about, is this something that's planned or something like that, because we see some people using the word plandemic instead of pandemic. But the reason why I was interested to do this is because in the second chapter of this book, it talks about how American scientists and doctors who went over to Wuhan, where the virus outbreak of coronavirus started, they actually had the foresight to see that this could lead to a pandemic 3 years ago. So I'm gonna read a passage, right? It says, "This theory, which is fiercely disputed by the Chinese, is that the virus escaped from the Wuhan Institute of Virology, a high-security biolab where scientists have been studying novel coronaviruses," because the first outbreak of a coronavirus was about 20 years ago in 2002. In 2018, American scientists who visited the lab were so concerned that they sent warnings back to the US, saying the lab's work on coronavirus could start a new SARS-like pandemic. So a new pandemic like the one that was 20 years before and 10 years before, because there have been three outbreaks. But this is like the third version of it. But the head of that lab, Dr. Shi Zhengli, denies her work had anything to do with the outbreak. She told reporters that the genomes of viruses from infected patients didn't match the viruses her team were working with. She is reported to have sent a WeChat message to friends stating that, "I swear with my life, the virus had nothing to do with the lab. However, the virus got out," and then blah, blah, blah. So the reason why we're going into this is because you won't get the truth from the media. You won't get the truth from even social media, actually. I have to encourage you to do your own research, to read books like this or read sources like this and come to your own conclusion so you fully have power, or at least knowledge, so that you can empower yourself to make the decisions that you want to take and perceive it in the correct way. You don't want to perceive it in a way which is given to you by someone else. So even though I'm reading this is encouraging you to do your own research. But anyway, it goes on to say, right, blah, blah, blah. All right, from the first time that there was an official notice that something could be wrong was December 31st, 2019, right? When people started reporting pneumonia of unknown causes. Now, anyway. Okay, so in Wuhan, fears about a deadly virus had begun to circulate. Now watch this. The authorities reacted by cracking down on anyone they suspected of spreading rumors. So this is after there was a bit of fear, right? So the authorities are cracking down on people trying to basically spread information, because it's not a rumor because it actually happened. Like, in hindsight, you can say it's not a rumor. Maybe at the time you can debate that, but it wasn't a rumor because this guy was right. But this guy called Li Wenliang was an eye expert, and his crime, I'm reading the passage, his crime was that he warned colleagues on WeChat about the presence in Wuhan of a SARS-like virus. Being an expert in eyes, he was particularly concerned about the dangers of being up close and personal with infected patients, and he suggested his colleagues take extra precaution to protect themselves. And then a couple days later, he was summoned to the Public Security Bureau, where he was ordered to sign a letter confessing to making false comments that had severely disturbed the social order. And this is the type of stuff, right? If you say to people, they will call you a conspiracy theorist or whatever, right? But how is it a conspiracy if the guy actually warned people about something that we have now proven that is true, but we see that he was being silenced at the time? And I think there was another guy who actually died because someone was trying to whistleblow, right? So it just makes you think, you can't say for sure you know what's happening, but it definitely makes you question the integrity and stuff like that of how these authorities deal with it, and then when they're doing lockdowns, what's the true reason for it. But of course, people who just submit to that stuff don't really have any context like this information to then make the decision to go with it from. Anyway, a couple weeks later, blah, 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 the Chinese, yeah. So even a couple weeks later, the Chinese government was still saying that there were no clear evidence on human-to-human transmission. This claim was publicly echoed by the World Health Organization, who issued a statement on January 12th. In it, they said, at this stage, there is no infection amongst healthcare workers and no clear evidence of human-to-human transmission. They went on to add that countries should not start putting in place any travel or trade restrictions on China. And then, of course, you know, the rest is history. There's an outbreak and stuff. But the same people who are advising people now are the same people who, when there was the chance for this to be stopped or taken more seriously, they didn't do what was needed to be done. So this is the stuff that affects my perception and my submission to these authorities, you know. It just don't, like, I can't say for sure what the reason is or if it really is what it seems, but how can they be confused about whether it, like how it can be transmitted from human to human if they've been studying it for years and literally American scientists said, wait, what's going on here? It looks like what they're doing in these labs could cause a pandemic. If they're sending messages like that and then a couple years later it actually happens and then we know, you know, Bill Gates and stuff predicting all that something like this would happen, it just makes you question shit. That's all I'm saying. It just makes you question stuff. But I'm trying to encourage you to make sure that you do your own research before you just go along with what any government or authority is saying, because these are just a group of people. That's it. Just because they have the label government, just because they have the label authorities, doesn't mean they're the authority of your life. They're just literally a group of people, and the best government is yourself. So take care. See you in the next video.